People meet me, they see me as a woman, as a wife, as a mother, and sometimes they're surprised to discover that one of my great passions in life is men's rights. What led me into men's rights was this idea that men are monsters, and if you give them a chance, they will discard their wives, discard their children, leave them on the street to starve. In fact, most divorces are initiated by women, not by men. The media gives us the impression that somehow men have every advantage and we have less advantages. That simply isn't true. The men's rights conversation is a way of shining a light on issues that affect men and rights, legal rights that men don't have and women do. Men deserve to have rights because men are human beings. What other reason do you need?
Ooh. Everybody, please welcome Janet to the show.
Welcome.
I just want to ask you, as a mother to mother, you have boys?
3 children, 2 girls and a boy.
So did your being the mother to a son have anything to do with this evolution for you? Because you do take a pretty extreme position on some of these issues.
It had everything to do with it, that I'm really concerned about a world in which my son has less opportunity than my daughters. My son has less opportunity to go to college. Women dominate on college campuses. When it was men who dominated college campuses, that was seen as a problem. And now women are outnumbering men on campus, and that's not seen as an issue that needs to be addressed. That concerns me.
Well, so I agree with you completely in terms of having the conversation, but there are a few points that you've made that I felt a little uncomfortable with. Why are you so hardcore in some of your views?
If you only read the headlines, you'd probably be horribly appalled by what I write.
My question for you, Janet, is because I think that we get sometimes caught up with a term and a definition of things, you know, and I think the term feminism, for example, means something different to different people, different times of our history. It's meant different things. But I think, where do you lose track of the individual case example versus, let's say, throwing the baby out with the bathwater, for example? I mean, I was sharing with everyone backstage that I once spoke about an actress undergoing a medical situation, and I made a framing comment that I thought she looked terrific for her age, and I was accused of being anti-feminist. And I thought, isn't that ridiculous? I've dedicated my whole medical career to women's health and women's rights and pro-woman, but have we slipped so far that I can't give a simple compliment without it being framed anti-feminist?
It's an excellent example because it signifies the switch between feminism as being about opportunities for women. We want women to have the opportunity to do and be whatever they want. And if they choose to be stay-at-home moms like myself, I have an MBA, I have experience working in international banking, I am delighted to be at home with my children.
Right, no one's forcing you to do that.
Right. And somehow feminism has switched from being about equality and opportunity into blaming men for all of women's problems and this perpetual victimhood.
You know, I have to applaud Janet to a certain degree because I think men have lost their rights. In certain issues, domestic violence, sexual issues, you are guilty.
Called the Violence Against Women Act, not the Violence Against Family Members Act.
And, I mean, that's not right. And so these are horrible problems that exist, and many times men are at fault, but we just assume that men are guilty without any proof.
Men can accuse women of domestic violence as well and play falsely and
exactly.
Do the same thing.
So that is the point. That is the point that I'm trying to make. That all those issues can work both ways.
Right. That's the point, Doctor. That gender isn't going to tell you anything about who's being falsely accused, who's guilty of domestic violence, who's guilty of initiating a divorce. Gender doesn't tell you anything meaningful about that. I'm not oppressed just because I'm a woman.
Right.
Lots of men are oppressed in some very real ways. Gender doesn't give you a significant way to understand those issues. We need a bigger, broader, more inclusive, more human way to tackle these issues.
In life, all you really want is the individual choice to be who you want to be and to be given all the opportunities. And then when there's any scenario where any individual in any way, shape, or form, for whatever reason, is not allowed those opportunities, that's problematic, and we always need to fight that. And in your opinion, you think men are being look, that's fine. And we should talk about all these things because...
And I think in some cases they are.
Well, what about, she mentioned,
Maybe.
you know, in terms of pro-choice, women have the ability to choose whether or not they want to move forward with a pregnancy, but men don't have that choice whether or not they want to be a father or support that child if the woman chooses to have the child. And that made me think, you know, I don't know.
Well, I think also a lot, you know, I'm the mother of a son and a daughter, and I think that it does change your whole paradigm when you are a mother of a boy versus a girl, because these issues take on a different significance. They do. And I think that whether you're talking about religion or race or gender or anything, you know, your occupation, whether you stay at home or choose to work outside the home, I think it's a slippery slope if you make a generalization. And I think that being a mom has really taught me so much. I mean, I think there's nothing like trying to elevate your game, right, when you are a parent, and it does shift your whole mindset about this. And I think it's not one extreme or another. We have to just settle somewhere in the middle, I think.
We were talking about reproductive rights. You know, it's not just about women's right to choose. Every single state in the U.S. allows women a certain amount of time to decide if they wish to parent the child they have given birth to. In North Dakota, they have a full year to decide if they wish to assume legal, moral, financial, social responsibility for that child. If they don't, they simply surrender it and all their obligations end. They're done.
You mean they give it up for adoption?
Yes.
Yes, it's called a safe haven law. No man in the U.S. has the right to opt out of parenting a child he has biologically contributed to. And even worse than that, he doesn't have to be the biological father. He can still be held responsible. If you don't see that as a gross unfairness, I'm not sure you know what fairness means.
Well, and look, there are a lot of things in life that we know aren't fair. I still think we've made a lot of progress.
We have.
And we need to continue to have these conversations. Janet, I know you've used a lot of strong words, and I don't agree with a lot of your headlines. Just going to be frank with you, but certainly you bring up a lot of interesting points. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.